This is the former boss of FIFA, and what you're seeing isn't AI, no. During a live press conference, a comedian threw a stack of real banknotes at him to protest FIFA corruption, which is honestly quite funny, until you realize the joke might be on us. FIFA controls the largest sporting event in the world, the World Cup, with last edition having about 5 billion people watching. FIFA, as the organization running it, has been fined, sued, arrested and investigated, but still somehow remains in charge of this $13 billion event, which in 2022 was held in a country where summer temperatures hit 45 degrees, in stadiums built in deplorable conditions, which were then only half full for a substantial part of the tournament. And this isn't even where FIFA has really finessed us. For 2034 they've managed to do it again, but now arguably in an even worse spot, in Saudi Arabia. So what's going on here? Well, this is what I've been trying to find out, because it's too easy to just call them corrupt for the simple fact that they're organizing these events in these illogical places. And FIFA is also claiming that they have implemented reforms, moving away from their corrupt roots. So, is FIFA still a corrupt organization? Well, to answer this you need to understand FIFA, because it wasn't always this ginormous organization filled with millionaires making questionable choices in air-conditioned Swiss offices. No, it started as something much smaller and simpler. The Fédération Internationale de Football Association was founded in 1904 by 4 countries to facilitate international games. Also, I will be saying football, apologies to the soccer enjoyers from the cheeseburger side of the world, but what you guys call football just doesn't make sense. Like, come on, in American football you barely use your feet, and this is supposed to be a ball? Sorry, where was I? Oh yes, FIFA. FIFA in the 1900s started out as an organization which would mainly organize small international matches. This lasted up until 1930, when they came up with a competition where members from all over the world competed at the same time for a single trophy, the World Cup. The first World Cup only had 13 countries participating, but since the tournament was organized in the middle of the Great Depression and also quite far away from all non-Americans, not too many countries were interested in joining at the time. Ever since 1930, the World Cup has been organized every 4 years. Except in 1942 and 1946, for reasons we simply cannot metaphysically comprehend. The system remained vaguely the same until the 80s, where the number of competing teams were upped from 16 to 24, which since then has slowly been rising to 48 right now. Aside from the amount of countries participating, the idea of the contest as a whole changed, where in the first World Cup it was quite an informal tournament with a hefty cost to host. From the 70s onwards, the World Cup started to bring in a good amount of cold hard cash, mainly through commercial sponsorships from companies like Coca-Cola, who still sponsor the World Cup to this day. With this influx of money, FIFA, which is officially a non-profit, needed something to spend this money on. So they established a system of development funds. These are funds every member state gets to develop their football infrastructure. But who decides the amount of money every member gets? Well, the honest answer is complicated, but the even more honest answer is this bald guy. So FIFA as an organization has 2 bodies, Council and Congress. Congress consists of 211 members, representing 211 football associations from all over the world. They're tasked with making the most crucial decisions, like appointing the FIFA president, but only meet once a year, causing the FIFA Council, which consists of 37 specific members, including president, to have a lot of power on day-to-day choices, like the allocation of development money. This development money is quite problematic in itself. Its goal is noble, improving football infrastructure all over the world. And usually this money is used in a good way. Take the example of Burundi. In Burundi they used this money to renovate the national stadium, making it a good enough pitch to actually host international games, which were usually held in neighboring countries. But of course there's issues as well. Take the island state of Montserrat. It received $8 million in development money from FIFA, which equates to about $2,000 per resident. And roughly the same amount as Brazil received, a country with 215 million residents, and arguably the most successful football culture in the world. What I'm trying to say is that the system is problematic because it disproportionately benefits these small nations. These small nations subsequently heavily rely on these investments coming from FIFA. FIFA presidents have discovered that this is a very effective way to gain support by promising to up the development money. This makes it quite easy to get re-elected as FIFA president, because you just promise to up the development money. And this is what Infantino and also his predecessors were doing every time the elections came. So it's basically buying votes. But would you classify this as corruption? Well, that depends on how you define corruption. Transparency International defines corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain, covering not just governments, but any institutions, public or private, where someone exploits a position of trust for personal benefit. The textbook example of this would be this guy I showed at the start of the video, Joseph Blatter. First of all, I gotta say I like this guy. He embodies everything that's wrong with FIFA. He's an old, creepy man who seemed to be getting away with everything for decades on end. Blatter was president for 4 consecutive terms, and under his reign, FIFA made a bunch of questionable choices. Spearheaded by the decision to move the World Cup to Qatar and Russia. According to whistleblowers, this process was fueled by corruption, with tons of private gains and personal demands made by the 22-person committee deciding where the World Cup should be held. But this became public knowledge. By the time the World Cup took place, a majority of the men had been sanctioned, suspended or banned for abusing their power. But the decision to award Russia and Qatar the rights to host the World Cup remained. Blatter was also the goat of giving himself huge bonuses. For example, after the 2010 and 2014 World Cups, in total he gave himself a bonus of 23 million francs. And to top it off, in 2014, FIFA, under control of Mr. Corruption himself, commissioned a $25 million movie where the plot's basically just glazing Joseph Blatter for like 90 minutes straight. And sorry for the spoilers, but I don't think anyone's ever watched this movie. But the movie ends with the main character, which is Joseph Blatter, being so incorruptible that like all other officials are frustrated with him and vote for him as the FIFA president. The movie was an enormous flop, with an American box office of $900 and probably even funnier, a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. But all of this happened in the early 2010s. Blatter and Platini are long gone now. So you'd think after these decades of blatant corruption, at some point it would end. On the surface, this seemed to be the case in 2016. When FIFA announced reforms and appointed a new leader who said this:
"We will restore the image of FIFA and the respect of FIFA, and everyone in the world will applaud us and will applaud all of you for what we'll do in FIFA in the future."
So did corruption end? Hell no. Not even 4 months after Infantino took over, he fired the head of the ethics committee, after they opened an investigation into Infantino, who was doing suspicious things. Infantino got this Kim Jong-un worthy power after a vote at the first executive committee meeting, where the FIFA president was basically given back most of his powers lost by the 2016 reform. But except concentrating power and quadrupling his personal salary, Infantino has also been dabbling into geopolitics. And in maybe one of the most embarrassing suck-ups I've seen to Donald Trump, Infantino just invented a whole new prize to give to Donald Trump, which is really the equivalent of getting a participation medal for a marathon you didn't run. Aside from making up prizes, Infantino also has a record for giving the most horrible speeches.
Today, I have very strong feelings, I can tell you that. Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker. We need to include them. We need to find ways to include the entire world, to give hope to Africans so that they don't need to cross the Mediterranean in order to find maybe a better life, but more probably death.
And this hairless man just doesn't seem to want to leave. According to this article I read, at the general meeting in Qatar, after 3 hours of boring votes, Infantino snuck in a resolution allowing him to stay another term, by claiming his first 2.5-year term didn't count because he was actually replacing Blatter. So he ain't going nowhere. Also, sorry, this is kind of besides the point, but while researching Infantino, I ran into this interview with Joseph Blatter, who is, mind you, 90 by now, but he still seems very salty that he lost his position, criticizing Infantino and calling him a dictator, which, I mean, to be fair, isn't really wrong, but it's quite funny coming from the guy who was kicked out of FIFA by the ethics committee. But there's so much more to talk about. The World Cup this year feels like a straight cash grab, with preposterous ticket prices and ridiculous rules aimed at maximizing profit. Like you weren't even allowed to bring a bottle of water into the stadiums, for example. This contest, organized by a non-profit, has completely become this commercial vessel to increase international prestige, sometimes at the cost of literal thousands of people, like in Qatar, where during the construction of their 7 new stadiums, allegedly thousands of people died because of the extreme heat and deplorable conditions they were working in. Meanwhile, FIFA is still acting like a money-hungry billionaire. trying to maximize profit in any way it can, advocating for bi-yearly World Cups and more and bigger other football events, such as Club World Cups. Now, I believe the beautiful game is actively getting hijacked by corrupt FIFA officials who adhere to the highest bidder. These people being mostly authoritarian leaders or just straight out dictators, hoping to gain a crumb of international prestige or legitimacy by organizing these kinds of sporting events. So at the end of the day, football enjoyers are just getting screwed by FIFA because their love for the sport is used by governments around the world to wash their reputation and increase their standing. This while FIFA is cheering them on, replacing one corrupt leader by another. So for now, I think it's only a matter of time before someone chucks another stack of money at the next FIFA boss, who would probably be more than happy to pocket it. So thank you for watching and see you next time.